Look around you, really look. The person sitting next to you on the bus. The colleague who has been at the same job for 15 years going nowhere. The family member who complains every holiday about money but never changes anything. The friend who has been talking about starting a business for a decade and still has not started. And if you are being completely honest with yourself, maybe you look in the mirror and you see the same thing, that a person who works hard, a person who is not lazy, a person who wants more, but somehow, year after year, the more never arrives. Here is the question that should disturb you. Why? Why do some people, born into the same circumstances, with the same 24 hours, breathing the same air, build extraordinary lives of freedom and abundance, while others work just as hard, want it just as badly, and die having never broken through? It is not luck, it is not education, it is not the economy. Jim Rohn, the man who went from farm laborer earning pennies to one of the most influential personal development philosophers of the 20th century, he spent his entire life answering that question, and his answer was not comfortable. His answer was not what most people want to hear, but it is the truth. And the truth, uncomfortable as it is the only thing that has ever set anyone free. It is 1955, Idaho. A 25-year-old man named Jim Rohn is standing in front of a door he does not want to knock on. He is a clerk. He is broke. He has a wife and a young child depending on him. He has big dreams, enormous dreams, but his bank account tells a different and deeply embarrassing story. He is selling pots and pans door to door. And on this particular afternoon, a little girl answers the door. She is maybe 10 years old. She looks up at him with innocent eyes and tells him that her mother is not home right now, but she would like to buy some Girl Scout cookies from him. Could he buy some? He reaches into his pocket, and he does not have $1. He lies to a little girl. He tells her he has already bought plenty of Girl Scout cookies this year. He smiles. She smiles back. She closes the door, and Jim Rohn stands on that porch, 25 years old, a grown man with a family, and he is ashamed, not of selling, not of the work. Ashamed because he has been given every opportunity to build something better than this. Ashamed because he has been making the same financial mistakes his parents made and their parents made before them. Ashamed because somewhere deep inside him he knows that the problem is not the economy or the job market or his circumstances. The problem is him, the decisions he has been making, the habits he has been tolerating, the philosophy he has been operating under, in a philosophy of poverty disguised as normalcy. That moment, that little girl, that missing $1, it changes everything. Not immediately, not dramatically, but it plants a seed of such uncomfortable honesty that Jim Rohn can never go back to the comfortable lies he had been telling himself about why his life looked the way it did, and that seed becomes the philosophy that eventually transforms millions of lives around the world, including possibly yours. Let us talk about something that almost nobody in the world of success and self-improvement is willing to say directly. Most people are poor not because of what happened to them. They are poor because of what they decided. Now, before you close this video, before you feel the defensive reaction rising in your chest, I need you to hear what I am actually saying. I am not talking about the structural inequalities that are real and documented, and that make the climb harder for some than for others. Those are real. They exist. They matter. I am talking about something that operates beneath all of that. Something that is available to be changed regardless of your starting position. Something that Jim Rohn discovered when he sat with his own reflection on that porch in Idaho. The philosophy of poverty. Most people carry a philosophy, a set of deeply ingrained beliefs about money, about success, about what is possible for someone like them, that was installed before they were old enough to question it. Installed by parents who struggled, by communities that associated wealth with greed, by school systems that never taught a single class on financial literacy or personal philosophy, by a culture that glorifies consumption while quietly producing generation after generation of people who earn and spend and earn and spend, and arrive at 65 with nothing to show for 40 years of work. Jim Rohn called this working on your job instead of working on yourself. And he said it is the primary reason why the majority of people end their lives in financial mediocrity, despite a lifetime of genuine effort. Think about that. Genuine effort, real work, real sacrifice of time and energy, and still nothing. Because effort applied without philosophy is like a ship with a powerful engine and no rudder. All that fuel, all that power, going in circles, going nowhere. The struggle is not the lack of opportunity. The struggle is the lack of the right thinking applied consistently over time. And the most devastating part of this truth is that most people never diagnose it correctly. They look at their empty bank account and they blame the economy. They look at their stagnant career and they blame their boss. They look at their struggling relationships and they blame the other person. They never look in the mirror and ask the only question that has ever produced a real answer. What is it in ME that is producing these results? That question is the beginning of everything, and most people never ask it. He asks Shoaff the right question. Not how do I make more money? Not what job should I take? Not what stocks should I buy? He asks, how did you do it? What do you know that I do not know? What did you have to become in order to build the life you have? And Shoaff tells him something that turns his entire world over. He tells him, Jim, the problem is not your income. The problem is your philosophy. Change your philosophy and your life will change automatically as a result. Because you cannot change your harvest without first changing your seeds. You cannot change your harvest without first changing your seeds. Rohn sits with that. He turns it over. He tests it against his own life, against the decisions he has made, the habits he has tolerated, the thinking he has operated under since childhood. And he recognizes with the kind of clarity that only comes from a moment of total honesty that Shoaff is right. He has been planting poverty seeds, not consciously, not deliberately, but consistently. Through the books he did not read, through the mentors he did not seek, through the daily habits of thought and action that were perfectly designed, perfectly calibrated, to produce exactly the results he had been getting. And if that was true, if the seeds were the problem, then the solution was not to work harder on the harvest. The solution was to change the seeds. That is the turning point. Not a windfall, not a lucky break, not a new job or a government program or an unexpected inheritance. A new philosophy, planted deliberately, tended daily, protected fiercely. And over the next several years, Jim Rohn's life transformed so completely that he eventually became the teacher who taught Tony Robbins, who influenced countless leaders and thinkers and builders around the world, all from a changed philosophy, all from different seeds. Lesson 1. Poor people have poor libraries. Jim Rohn said something that should permanently change how you spend your time and money. He said, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Think about what you have read in the last 90 days. Not scrolled, not watched, read, absorbed, wrestled with, applied. Because here is what Rohn documented over decades of studying wealthy and poor people side by side. The wealthy read, consistently, deliberately, hungrily. Not fiction for entertainment, though that has its place, but philosophy, biography, strategy, the recorded wisdom of people who have already solved the problems you are currently facing. The average CEO reads 52 books per year. The average person reads fewer than one. That gap, that single staggering gap, compounds over 10 years, over 20 years, into two completely different human beings standing in front of two completely different lives and wondering how the distance between them grew so large. It grew one unread book at a time. It grew one evening of television chosen over one evening of deliberate learning. Your library, what you choose to put in your mind consistently, is a precise map of your future income, your future relationships, your future health, your future peace. Change what you read, change what you study, change who you listen to, change the seeds. Lesson 2. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is the lesson that costs people the most to apply because it is not about strangers. It is about the people you love, the people you grew up with, the people who feel like home. Rohn was unflinching about this. He said that you cannot soar with eagles if you are spending all your time scratching with turkeys, not because the turkeys are bad people, not because they do not deserve love and loyalty and care, but because human beings are permeable. We absorb the beliefs and the habits and the expectations of the people we are around most. It is not a choice. It is biology. It is the way we are built. And if the 5 people you spend the most time with are people who believe that wealth is for other people, that ambition is arrogance, that comfort is enough, then no matter how hard you try to think differently, you are swimming against a current that runs 24 hours a day. You do not have to abandon the people you love, but you do have to be intentional about whose voice gets the most volume in your life, whose philosophy gets the most airtime, whose results you are using as your reference point for what is possible. Seek out people who are living the life you want to live. Study them. Spend time with them. Let their expectations of what is normal begin to recalibrate your own, because you will rise or fall to the expectations of the people around you. Every single time. Lesson 3: Poverty is thinking. Wealth is also thinking. Here is the idea that Jim Rohn returned to more than any other across his entire life's work. The outer world is always a reflection of the inner world. Not immediately, not in a straight line, not without the interference of circumstances and systems and things outside your control, but over time, over the course of a life, the inner world always wins. Show me a person's thoughts, their habitual, daily, automatic thoughts about money and worthiness and possibility, and I will show you their bank statement in 10 years. Poor thinking says, I cannot afford it. Rich thinking says, how can I afford it? Do you feel the difference? Poor thinking says, that kind of success is for other people. Rich thinking says, what would I need to learn and become to create that? Poor thinking says, the economy is broken, the system is rigged, there is no point. Rich thinking says, where is the opportunity inside this obstacle? These are not just attitude differences. They are decision-making differences. They are action differences. They are compounding over thousands of small daily choices into two completely different lives. The poverty is not in the bank account first, it is in the mind first. And that is the most frightening thing about it, and the most liberating thing about it, both at once. Frightening because it means you cannot blame your way out of it. Liberating because it means you can think your way out of it. You can decide your way out of it. Starting today, I want you to think about your parents or your grandparents, the people who came before you who worked, genuinely, hard, sacrificially worked, and still ended their lives without the freedom they deserved, without the security they had earned. Most of us come from those people, and most of us carry, somewhere deep in the programming we received before we were old enough to question it, the same beliefs, the same relationship with money, the same quiet resignation dressed up as humility, the same ceiling on what we believe is possible for someone from our family, our neighborhood, our background. Jim Rohn grew up in that world. He could have stayed in it. He had every cultural permission to stay in it. The people around him stayed in it. The expectations were perfectly calibrated to keep him in it. And then one day a little girl asked him for $1 he did not have. And something in him said, never again. Not with anger, not with bitterness, not with resentment toward the family or the community that had handed him a limited philosophy without knowing any better. With love. With the deep, quiet, revolutionary love of a man who looked at everything his parents had given him, their work ethic, their values, their character, and decided to add to it the one thing they had not been able to give him: a philosophy of abundance. He made a decision that day on that porch, a decision not just for himself, for every person who would come after him, for the child who would not have to lie to a little girl, for the family that would not have to choose between the electric bill and the grocery bill, for the generation that would inherit something different, something better, something built on changed seeds instead of inherited limitations. That is what breaking the cycle looks like. Not a dramatic moment, not a lightning bolt, a quiet, private decision made by one person on one ordinary afternoon, to be the one who changes it. You can be that person, for your family, for your children, for the generation that comes after you and inherits the philosophy you choose to carry from this moment forward. You can be the one who changes it. So here is where we land, not with a financial plan, not with investment tips, not with a 5-step system for getting rich, with something more important than all of that, a philosophical challenge. Jim Rohn spent 50 years teaching one thing above everything else, above the seminars and the books and the recordings and the keynotes. He taught that everything changes when you change, not your circumstances, your thinking, your habits, your philosophy, Your daily disciplines applied consistently over time until they compound into a life that looks nothing like the one you inherited. So right now, today, I'm asking you to do 3 things. Just 3. Small, doable, but compounding if you do them every day starting now. 1. Read for 30 minutes today. Not your phone. A book. From someone who has already built what you want to build. Let their thinking begin to replace the thinking that has been producing results you do not want. 2. Evaluate your 5. The 5 people whose voices have the most volume in your life right now. Are they taking you toward the life you want or away from it? You do not have to cut anyone off. Just be honest about who gets the most airtime in your mind. 3. Ask the question Rohn asked himself on that porch. Not what is wrong with the economy. Not what is wrong with the system. What is wrong with my philosophy? What am I thinking and believing and deciding every day that is producing the results I currently have? Because here is what Jim Rohn proved with his own life, and what $500 million worth of coaching and speaking over 50 years proved through the lives of the people he influenced. The poverty is not permanent. It is not structural. It is not inevitable. It is not your destiny because it was your parents' reality. It is a set of seeds. And seeds can be changed. You are not too old. You are not too far behind. You are not too broken or too limited or too defined by what came before you. You are one changed philosophy away from a changed life. One different seed away from a different harvest. Plant better seeds. Starting today. Starting right now. Starting with the decision, quiet, private, powerful, non-negotiable, that you will not be the person who passes the poverty philosophy forward to the next generation. You will be the one who changes it. If this video reached something inside you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment telling me the one thing in your philosophy you are committing to change right now. Subscribe to Motivation Arc because every week we bring you the truth that most people are too comfortable to say and too afraid to hear. Jim Rohn said it best. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Take care of your philosophy. Because those 3 things, and only those 3 things, are building your future right now whether you are paying attention or not. We will see you in the next one.